Good morning, everyone. I want every one of you to type present in the chat. Well, in our previous class, we were discussing about probability of error. And in this session also, let's continue with our derivation process. So let me share my screen. So in our previous class, we were in an approach to derive an expression for probability of error. And in order to derive this probability of error expression, we were supposed to consider likelihood function, that which is also called as conditional PDF. And we are quite familiar with this equation. So this conditional PDF is given as small f subscript capital X, where this capital X represents the random variable, where instead of brackets I'll have small x, that which is sample function, given the message symbol that which has been transmitted. So if this is the case, and we all know that this follows a Gaussian process, Gaussian distribution. And because it follows Gaussian distribution, we are having this equation. And let's try to bring this equation down to our BPSK. And for BPSK, dimensionality value n is equal to 1. And here the transmitted message symbol mk is equal to symbol 0. So I can replace mk with 0 and I can substitute n value as equal to 1. And after substituting that, I'll be left out with this equation. And here, in place of this coefficient value h21, I can substitute it with equivalent value, that which is minus square root of EB. And we have just got to know that we'll make use of signal h2 to represent symbol 0, and its energy of this signal h2 is given by coefficient value h21, that which is minus of square root of EB. So keeping this everything in our mind, here we have made this substitution in place of coefficient value h21, such that minus into minus will get converted to plus. And here we got to consider this conditional PDF equation, and I got to integrate it. Starting from over the region Z1. So why am I trying to integrate it over the region Z1? Because we have already seen our constellation diagram. Back in our constellation diagram, we had only one basis function, phi 1, where signal S1 representing bit 1 or symbol 1 was plotted at a distance equal to positive square root of EB right from the reference, that is 0 value. So, and we call this entire region as region Z1. And in a similar way, the second signal S2, that which is representing bit 0 or symbol 0 was plotted in the same constellation diagram by moving an equal distance but on the opposite direction, and we in turn ended up with point minus square root of EB. So over here, we called this region as Z2 region. We called this region as region Z2, such that this 0 right now acts like a decision boundary. It acts like a decision boundary. So assuming that we had transmitted symbol 0, and back at the receiver we were supposed to expect the same symbol 0 to get decoded, but it so happens that due to channel noise, at sometimes the observed point may erroneously fall in Z1 region. So this leads to error. This leads to error, and because we are trying to find a mathematical expression for probability of error, so let's make use of this equation. So because of which I'm trying to integrate this conditional probability observed point given message transmitted message is 0, we are trying to integrate it over entire region of Z1 that will start from 0 and it ends at positive infinity. So that is why we are considering this limits. And over here, let's substitute our conditional PDF equation. And this looks like a daunting equation because right now we got to do this integration of some exponential signal, that too which is associated with very large power value. So right now here, just in order to minimize this entire daunting integral, let me make use of this substitution method. Let me make use of this substitution method, and let's assume this thing that which is on the power part as equal to z. Only thing is, I'm trying to bring in this 1 by n naught inside of this whole square, and that we have already seen. So if I bring in this 1 by n naught inside of this whole square, so I got to put in this square root symbol for n naught. So this in turn can be thought of as z. And if I substitute this entire value as equal to z, and if I differentiate it with respect to z over here, so I'll get it as dz here. And because this is a constant value, and in differentiation of constant value is 0, I'll be left out with dx1. I'll be left out with dx1 divided by square root of n naught, such that if I cross multiply this, I can have dx1 as equal to square root of n naught into dz. And I can make use of this value. I can make use of this value in place of dx1. And where am I having this dx1? Over here in this integral. So after doing this, I should also change the limits. I should also change the limits. So what's our lower limit? So lower limit over here is x1 equal to 0, and upper limit is x1 equal to infinity. So let's consider our lower limit. For lower limit x1 equal to 0. So let's see how this equation varies. So our substitution equation is z is equal to 1 by square root of n naught x1 plus square root of EB. This is our expression. So back in this expression, if I substitute x1 as equal to 0, so this z takes on value square root of EB by square root of n naught, or in turn I can combine both the square roots and I can have it as square root under which I'll have EB by n naught. So this is our changed lower limit. Likewise, let's also substitute the upper limit. So for upper limit, we have this x1 equal to, So what's our upper limit? X1 equal to infinity. So for x1 equal to infinity, so let's substitute infinite value in place of x1. So if x1 is equal to infinity, anything added to infinity, it is as good as infinity, as well as anything multiplied with infinity is infinity. So the upper limit still remains as infinity. So let's make use of this as well as this in our equation. So back here, I can think of this as 1 by square root of pi n naught. So right now limits have been changed to, so lower limit has been changed to square root of EB by n naught, and upper limit still is infinity of e to the power minus z whole square, because we had considered this entire thing to be as equal to z, because of which, and we had neglected this negative sign. See here, we have not considered any negative sign, so thereby it's e to the power minus j square integral into, what is this dx1 equal to? So right now dx1 is equal to square root of n naught into dz. So in place of dx1, I'll substitute dz into square root of n naught. So let me rewrite this entire thing down below. So this entire thing is equal to 1 by square root of pi n naught integral, lower limit is square root eb by n naught, upper limit is infinity of minus e to of e to the power minus z square dx. So this is equal to probability of error if transmitted message symbol is 0. Now still its complexity has, so it has reduced by a little bit amount, but still it still is a daunting equation. So whenever we are having integral of this kind, so it's a quite a daunting equation. So now here I can solve this. In order to solve this, we'll make use of some standard expressions. We'll make use of some standard expression. So here let's compare it with one of such standard expression, standard integral expression, where if I'm having expression of this form, so let me take you back here. So if we are having any expression in this fashion, that is 2 by square root of pi integral u infinity e to the power minus z square dz. If we are having any expression of this form, I can make this as equal to, I can call this as complementary error function. I can call this as complementary error function. And this complementary error function is given as, its short form is ERFC of u. So ERF is error function, and C over here represents complementary of what function? Of function u, because here the entire thing depends upon this lower limit. So this entire thing depends upon lower limit. So we have used complementary error function of u. So let me consider this expression over here. Let me consider this expression, and let's see how can I make use of this back in our derivation. So this is our standard integral. This is our standard integral. Now let's compare. Let's compare this left hand side. Now let me compare this LHS part with that of this expression. So before I do that, here I have skipped a step. So that step is this dx1 is equal to square root of n naught into dz. So here I have missed that n naught. So here I should have also written this square root of n naught, such that this square root of n naught and this n naught over here gets cancelled out. So in fact, we'll be left out with so in fact we'll be having this expression. Now here if I compare these two, what is that additional thing I'm having in this standard integral? Can I have some quick answers in the chat? All I want you guys to do is compare these two expressions that which have been rounded off. So can anybody tell me what extra thing am I having in this standard integral expression? What is that extra thing that you can see? If I compare these two expressions, what is that extra thing? 2. Yes, that's the right answer. So we do have limits. So but the extra thing over here is this 2. So for that, what I'll do is I'll be cross multiplying, because I need to eliminate this 2. Because of that, I'll be cross multiplying this 2 onto its right hand side, such that when I cross multiply this 2 over here reflects as 1 by 2. 1 by 2 complementary error function. So here let me remove this. Now the entire thing matches over here. Only change is that in place of u, what are we having? We are having square root of eb by n naught. So in place of u, what I can do is I can equate this to I can equate this to I can equate this to 1 by 2 error function complementary of, in place of u, let me use this value, square root of eb by n naught. So here this complementary error function, they'll give it in a table. they'll give it in a table form, such that, because here complementary error function considers square root of EB by N naught. So we'll have a table where in the first column we'll be having square root of EB by N naught, that which takes on a lot of value, let's say 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and here we'll be having its corresponding complementary error function value. So this comes in a table form. All I got to do is consider, so all I got to measure is the thing that which is within the bracket, that is square root of EB by N naught. So we'll get this value in terms of a ratio or some fractional form, and all I got to do is refer this table where I can get its corresponding complementary error function value. If it is, let's say, sorry, let me use some other notation. If it's A, B, and C, let's say for some problem we have calculated the value for square root of EB by N naught, that which in turn results in 0.3, So what I'll do is I'll refer this table and I'll get its corresponding complementary error function value, that which is C, and ultimately all I'll do is divide this C with 2, because here I'm having scaling factor of 1 by 2. So this is how we actually solve the problems of probability of error. So I hope you got an idea of how this probability of error function works, and this is very important because only by using this error probability we can evaluate the performance of the receiver. And in order to measure its performance, right now we have got a mathematical expression. That which is this. So right now we have got this expression, and we can also prove that if the transmitter sends symbol 1, so the previous case was for symbol 0 transmitted, and we can also have if symbol 1 transmitted and if it is erroneously getting decoded as symbol 0 back at the receiver end. So this case can also happen. So that's our case number 2. And we can also show that probability of error of 1, symbol 1 transmitted, is also equal to 1 by 2 complementary error function of square root of EB by N naught. So both the expressions, probability error of 0 as well as probability error of 1, are one and the same. And in fact, average probability of symbol error is given as average between these two. So because we are having same values for both probability of error of 0 and probability error of 1, so they'll get added up, and in turn 1 by 2 gets cancelled, and still we'll be left out with this 2 over here because it's an average value. All we are trying to calculate is this average, and average probability of symbol error is also equal to this. So this is probability error for BPSK. Now let's consider its transmitter diagram. So because if I take you through the flow, so after drawing constellation diagram, we got to derive probability of error, and finally we got to end the discussion of that scheme by considering its transmitter diagram as well as receiver diagram. So let's do that. So let's consider this binary phase shift keying where we'll be transmitting either symbol 1 or symbol 0. So this is our message Mi. So I can think of this as message M1 and this is message M2. And in turn, I got to convert this into signal. For which I'll take the aid of, because Anyhow, I got to represent this digital data in terms of some line codes. And here we'll make use of line codes, that is polar non-return to zero level encoder. So here we'll make use of polar non-return to zero. Why am I supposed to go specifically for this polar? Why am I specifically supposed to go to this polar? Can I have some quick answers in the chat? I could have also gone for unipolar, but here I'm specifically considering this polar. Why? Do you know the reason behind it? Do you know the reason behind it? Or let me give you an clue over here. Let me give you a clue over here. So when we extracted this signal from signal S1 of t and S2 of t, when we represented in its vector form, for signal S1, we ended up with what value of what value? We ended up with square root of EB. Likewise, for symbol 0, we ended up with what? Square root of EB, but with a negative sign in front of it. So here for symbol 0, we are not using 0 volts. We are not using 0 volts. So it is associated with some energy. We are not using this value. So because of which we got to consider some negative value. So thereby I got to go for polar representation. I got to go for polar because back in our polar representation, we have seen that if we are having 1, then followed by bit 0, for 1, we'll make use of this positive V volts over that entire bit interval for non-return to 0. And for the other interval, that is, I'll get bit 0, for which I'll make use of negative V volts. So only change here is instead of using positive V volts, we are using positive square root of EB for bit 1, and we are using negative square root of EB in order to indicate bit 0, because of which we got to use polar NRZ coding, line coding. So that's the reason. So I hope you got the reason why we have used this additional block that which says polar non-return to 0 level encoder. So after this, so if my transmitted symbol is symbol 1, then output of this will be equal to square root of EB if my transmitted bit is 1, or if my message input bit is 0, the output of this block will be minus square root of EB. And what should I do in order to convert it into signal ST? All I got to do is take the aid of a product modulator. That is, we have already seen that signal S1 of t is equal to what? Square root of EB into product modulator value here is this basis function, that which we can extract from a local oscillator, square root of 2 by TB cos 2 pi FCT. And signal S2 of t is minus square root of EB into again this square root of 2 by TB cos 2 pi FCT. So by associating positive square root of EB with this basis function, I can get signal S1 of t. And if my transmitted bit is 0, I'll have minus EB over here. And if I multiply this minus EB with that of this basis function, I'll have signal S2 of t. It's as simple as that. So this is the block diagram of transmitter. Likewise, I can also have the receiver block diagram like this. So in fact, because of channel noise, I'll be getting instead of getting SI of t, I'll have some noise component with it, that which is given as observed signal. So this is received signal or observed signal. I can also call it as observed signal. So what should I do in order to convert it into vector form? So all I got to do is I got to multiply it with the same local oscillator. I got to remember here local oscillator. Local oscillator frequencies should match. It should match, because we have seen that if I want to extract signal coefficient value S11, what should I do? I should integrate signal S1 of t with that of basis function phi1 of t. So I got to pass this product term through an integrator, or if I were to extract coefficient value S21, again I'll be passing the product value S2 of t with phi1 of t dt. I got to pass this product term over the same integrator. So we know that any multiplier stage followed by an integrator stage, I can call it as a correlator. So here we'll make use of a single correlator stage, and in turn we'll have this x1, and in turn we'll have this observed point. I can call this as observed point. And here we'll make use of this decision device, where threshold value that I'm using is 0. Why am I using this threshold value is equal to 0? Because it all, so this entire diagram is built based on this constellation diagram. It's built based on this constellation diagram. So in constellation diagram, we know that for signal S1, and this is signal S2. So this is negative square root of EB, and this is positive square root of EB. I'll call this as region Z1, and I'll call this region onto the left as region Z2. So if my observed point, so let's say my observed point x1 over here, by some means falls in this region, it falls in this Z2 region, then what should I do? I got to pass that information. Onto this decision device, where the threshold value is 0, because this 0 right now acts like a decision boundary. Now here this decision device sees the value of x1. So if this x1 is falling onto the left, if it is falling onto the left of this constellation diagram, its value should be negative. So if the sign of this x1 is negative, if it is negative, it will choose the estimate as equal to 0. So m cap will be equal to what? 0 in this case. And if at all if this x1 is having some positive value, let's say it is no longer a negative value, it's a positive value, and it's falling in Z1 region, because of which it can fall in any point. Remember this, it can fall anywhere over here. Only thing is if it is positive or greater than 0, because the threshold value is 0. If it is greater than 0, it is estimated to symbol 1. So you can see that if x1 is greater than 0, we'll choose symbol 1, and if it is lesser than 0, we'll choose symbol 0. So that's how the receiver works. So this is about BPSK. But in order to transmit this BPSK, we need more bandwidth. And in order to conserve that bandwidth, because bandwidth is finite in nature, we'll move ahead with a improvement in PSK. That is, we'll go with, instead of BPSK, we'll go with QPSK, where Q stands for quadri, where this corresponds to Q corresponds to quadri. Now quad is something that is associated with 4 values. So here, now what we'll do is, instead of having only 2 signals in BPSK, here we'll have 4 signals. Here we'll have 4 message signals. So here I can take on value 1, 2, 3 and 4. So here mi can be rewritten as in terms of m1 of t, m2 of t, m3 of t and m4 of t. So here we'll have 4 message signals such that I'll map this m1 onto 1 0, because we are having 4 cases. For 4 cases, how many message variables have to be used? So we have seen in our logic design that if I'm having 2 variables, how many combinations are possible? 4 combinations. So likewise here, because I'm having 4 message signals, so 4 message signals can be uniquely written just by using 2 bits. So this message m2 can be thought of as equal to 0 0, m3 as equal to 0 1, m4 as equal to 1 1. And you might be wondering why we have gone for this sort of order. Why not this sort of order? So can I have any answers from your end in the chat? Any answer for why am I starting with starting value as equal to 1 0? Why my starting message is m1? Why is my m1 equal to 1 0 instead of 0 0? Any answers from your end? So I'm using this because, so if I compare any two adjacent values, it is differing in how many bits? It differs in how many bits portion? So if I take up these two values, 1 0 and 0 0, so here this portion is 0, whereas I can only find change in this portion. Likewise, if I compare 0 0 with 0 1, 0 0 with 0 1, here 0 is same, whereas change is happening in this portion. Likewise, if I compare 0 1 with that of 1 1, I can find change at this portion, whereas this portion is equal to 1. And in a similar way, because this entire thing is circularly connected, if I compare 1 1 with 1 0, so this portion is constant, that is equal to 1, whereas this is varying. So what do we call codes that which vary in a single bit portion? Any two adjacent values, if I compare them and if they differ only by one value, 1 bit portion, we call such kind of codes as what? Can I have some quick answers in the chat? Gray codes. Yes, that's the answer. So here we are making use of this. Because of this gray codes. So that which helps later in formation of constellation diagram. So later, while going through this constellation diagram, we'll get to know how this sort of thing helps us. So here we'll make use of, so here in QPSK, we'll make use of 4 phases. So the phase of the carrier takes on one of the 4 equally spaced values, either pi by 4, 3 pi by 4, 5 pi by 4, or 7 pi by 4. So here general equation can be thought of as like this, where this I can take on values, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. So here if I substitute I as equal to 1, I'll get it as 2 into 1 minus 1. 2 into 1 is 2, 2 minus 1 is in turn equal to 1, 1 multiplied with pi by 4. So the starting signal S1 of t, because I have substituted I as equal to 1. So this I equal to 1 in turn results as what? I'll be getting my first signal where the phase part is equal to pi by 4. Likewise, if I substitute I as equal to 2, I'll get my second signal S2 of t, where if I do this 2 into 2 minus 1, so what is 2 into 2? 2 into 2 is 4, 4 minus 1 is 3, and in turn, I'll be getting my second phase value as 3 pi by 4. Likewise, for my next I value, that which is 3, so I'll have 2 times 3, that which is 6. 6 minus 1 in turn is 5 pi by 4. So for third signal, the phase value is equal to 5 pi by 4. Likewise, for fourth message signal, I'll have it as 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. So the last message signal S4 of t will be associated with phase value equal to 7 pi by 4. So this is our general notation. General notation. And in turn, if I want to rewrite that in terms of basis function, because by procedure we have seen that first I got to represent general equation, followed by I got to also identify this basis function, and later I got to combine these two using Gram-Schmidt's procedure. So because of which I'm trying to rewrite the same equation in this form. So because we are running out of time, I'll be continuing the concept of this QPSK in our next class. Till then, stay safe and healthy. Thanks for watching. So if you have not typed present in the chat, please do type present in the chat. So everyone, please do type present in the chat if you have not typed yet. Okay, thank you one and all.